Calisthenics होता क्या exactly?
It's essentially
When it comes to just overall postural relief, what can people do at home?
like if I show someone a video and be like, "Bhai, do you think your body is capable of this?" Most people will say no. Being able to share that feeling is why I do this.
Why is the scapula so massively undertrained?
Why it's underused and why it gets weak is just if you don't use it.
There is a definitive way to heal the knee through training.
There most certainly is.
You started this at 35, where all your worst physical patterns are already set in place.
Set in place. I was in like copious amounts of pain. ACL, partial tear, had a rotator cuff injury. My SI joint was rubbing at the six pack. That's just low body fat percentage. And if you look at a world strongman, he's got a big gut, but they have absurdly strong abs. In general, everyone should be able to hang. You should be able to squat. You should be able to do a push-up.
Yo, what is up, my friends? Welcome to another episode of Dostcast. मेरा नाम है विनम्र कसाना. आज के हमारे गेस्ट का नाम है रोहन माजुमदार. He's a calisthenics coach based in Mumbai, who I regularly train with, and he turned his life around. He was involved in life of vice, degeneracy, substance abuse, and he was sick of that. So he learned how to master the intricacies of the body, and he right now moves as gracefully as an Olympic skater. In this podcast, we discuss everything from how pain originates in the body, how to prevent it using exercise, how to overcome common postural problems, what's the correct way to move, and can you use calisthenics to build strength, get muscle. And we also discuss some of the postural problems and health issues plaguing today's society. It's a whirlwind of an episode. I think you will like it. So the episode with Rohan Maz begins in 3, 2, 1. Rohan, thank you so much for being on Dostcast, bro.
Thank you so much for having me, bro.
Very excited to speak with you. Mostly because I think Bandra ke local log know you as a calisthenics guy. जब मैंने तेरे को मीम भेजा था एक इंस्टाग्राम पे कि लोकल जिम में जाके कैलिस्थेनिक्स कर दी और एक कुत्ता उल्टा भाग रहा था तेरे साथ. There is a lot of misconception around what calisthenics is, right?
Correct.
जब हम कभी जेनेरिक जिम स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग जिम में जाते हैं तो बोर्ड पे लिखा होता है कि आज कैलिस्थेनिक्स डे है. And I've done this in the past and I was not sure what I was doing. So
Right.
for most of my listeners and watchers, calisthenics होता क्या exactly?
It's essentially strength training by using your own body weight. It's freehand movement.
That's it.
Essentially, in a nutshell,
So
that's what it is.
would you say कि एक push-up constitutes
It's as much calisthenics.
calisthenics, yeah.
Yes.
And what is on the outer end of calisthenics where, say, like everyone knows a compound exercise like a push-up.
Right.
What is something that most people would not know is a calisthenics exercise?
There's the end range of the skills, which is like your front levers and your planches, and that you see like on Instagram, people holding up their bodies completely horizontally and stuff. That's the other end of the spectrum. But like a free body weight squat is essentially as much calisthenics.
Calisthenics. And when I started to train with you, I asked you, "Iski mere ko na yaar, I want to be movement first."
Right.
Because and as everyone can see, I'm not exactly the paragon of health. But जब मैंने शुरुआत करी थी, I was far worse. And I had all these aches and pains in my body that had developed over time through bad posture, irresponsibly not working out when I needed to. जब भी मैंने workout करा फिर gym में जाके, which is true for many people,
Right.
is that they get buff, but the pains remain. And
Right.
many people in the bodybuilding community talk about form, कि हमारा exercise का form बड़ा सही है. But I think the strengthening conversation largely starts and stops at how many reps can you do? Can you do it until failure? And it's mostly people going with good intentions, of course,
Correct.
to the gym, but their physical pain issues don't go away.
Correct. But I think a lot of that has to do with your intention when you're going in there in the first place. Like if you're going in with an intention of the pain going away, then your approach has to be completely different. Where you start off needs to be completely different. Like you were kind of torn between the two, right? When you came and you were like, I want to put on muscle and I want to, right? So I was like, you need to get rid of the pain first, right? We need to address it from ground up. It also matters at what point in your life you're starting training. Like if you're straight out of college, you're unlikely to have formed these deep-rooted bad habits. So you can go with the conventional sort of formula. Versus when you're starting a little bit later in life, these bad habits and compensations and muscular compensations in the body and stuff are locked in. So you kind of need to take it apart and build from the ground up. And if you want to get rid of your pain, if you already have existing aches and pains and imbalances, which you can already feel. But yeah, that's basically.
मेरे को एक बात बता bro, and you can speak in Hindi as well if you want. एक तो होती है वर्कआउट एंड देन देयर इज द वर्क, राइट? टिपिकली मेरे को ऐसा लगता है व्हेन आई थिंक अबाउट मूवमेंट या फिर ग्रेजुअली अपनी बॉडी को पेन फ्री बनाना, लाइक माई गोल इज टू बी हेल्दी एंड पेन फ्री, राइट? एंड नॉट हैव यहाँ पे दर्द है, उधर दर्द है, इधर दर्द है, ये वाला एरिया हर्ट कर रहा है पर मैं चले जा रहा हूँ. There is a kind of work that people in calisthenics या movement culture या anyone who, you know, fascia training, जितने भी अब the alternative ways of fitness जो आए हैं, they go outside the casual workout जो आपको 1 घंटे mandated होता है करने के लिए कि आपने हफ्ते में 3-4 दिन वो करा.
Correct.
Where they will spend maybe the first part of the morning training their toes or maybe spend the later part of the night figuring out कि उनकी back में ये issue है, इसके लिए specific exercise.
Right.
So for your approach, is it only specified to the studio or do you go outside it? मतलब कहने का मतलब है कि जैसे एक तो होता है वर्कआउट, मैं गया जिम में मैंने वर्कआउट कर लिया, and then there is like the work, the things that you have to do even at home.
Right.
Because
a lot of which when you're coming, I feel like when you're coming from like if you want complete movement, if you like, there's an hour that you have within the space, within your workout, right? But there's all of this ancillary stuff that you want to be doing if you want to be moving well and completely, which you're not going to get in the 1 hour. Which is what, like you were saying with this postural thing, which I can cover that base really quickly. A lot of people say that, you know, with their traps, they're like, I hold a lot of stress here. And often it's not that esoteric a thing. Not that it is untrue, but a lot of the time it has to do with how you're spending a lot of your time just like rolled up looking at your phone screen, or, you know, where like you're drinking water after a while using that muscle because it's become so overactive because you're spending so much time hunched over, like the existence of a laptop. That's why you'll see like a little older generation doesn't hold so much stress here because their screens were far away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just weren't, our screens are down here. So we're always like that. And that's why we're always like, you know, this is always so, and everybody's like, oh, a lot of stress here, which is not completely untrue. It is one of the places we hold stress in the body. But I think that it's far less so than people think. And so like dealing with this stuff from the ground up, like this kind of stuff, if you want to sort it out, you're going to have to spend time working on the other muscles that need to strengthen. Spend as much time on those muscles as you're spending like that.
Correct.
If you want it to actually rectify itself from the ground up.
Which requires a complete 360 degree, 180 degree lifestyle change, जो कि लोग anticipate नहीं करते. मतलब, I think most people want the minimum possible dose. You know, mean to it, guilty as charged. कि आपको, मैं 1 घंटे गया इसके जिम में, इसके बाद मैंने calisthenics का push workout करा, आज मैं endorphins के मामले में भी set हूँ. ठीक है, आज मैं थोड़ा पेन फ्री हो गया हूँ, अब दबा के काम करूंगा. And my calm is exactly like this, like hunched over, right? So what I'm basically doing is I'm getting a small injection, like a steroid, to sort me out for just a little while.
You said it.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of physiotherapists, when people go to physiotherapists, they'll give you something and they'll be like, do it 3 times a day. And we don't. We just go, every time we go to them, we'll do it for that 20 minutes and then you don't see the progress. Or even if you do see a little bit, you're back at that physio in 2 months. Because your body has this predisposition and you're going to have to actively, maybe forever, work against it to counteract that, which we don't do. Like we just like navigate the symptom, but don't actually get to the cure, which is you doing it on a regular basis to counteract. Like some people have certain, like this is your job. It requires you to be in this position.
Right.
So you're going to have to do that stuff to counteract it. Just like a sportsman will have training that's specific to his sport. Like if you're playing cricket, you'd have a certain bunch of a style of training that you'd have that's specific to cricket. Basketball player would have like Michael Jordan in the documentary. When he went over to, if you've watched the Michael Jordan
की वो,
The Last Dance. When he went over to baseball, he trained to make his body baseball ready. And then retrained to make his body basketball ready when he was switching back over. And he's Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? So even at that level, you've got to work, use your body in a way that to enable it to do the things that we want to do for our job.
मैं एक embassy में गया था and I think people stood up for the national anthem of a particular country. तो सब लोग खड़े हुए. मेरे सामने कुछ 4-5 star decorated generals थे.
Right.
One of them was a gentleman from I think the Royal Air Force जो UK में होती है. He must be in his 40s. अच्छा जब वो खड़ा हुआ ना, तो you know when we stand at ease in schools हमारे को ऐसे सिखाते हैं, we go like this. I noticed he stood so erect.
Right.
His shoulders went all the way to the back. His
Right.
scapula was so stretched. And I could see through his uniform, उसके shoulders पूरे पीछे हो गए.
Right.
मैं बोल रहा था यार ऐसे तो कोई खड़ा ही नहीं हो सकता. And he was standing comfortably. He was not
Right.
forcing that.
Exactly.
And I was like, that is insane to be able to stand at ease with the shoulders completely back and not feel pain and stand for 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, ये तो specimen है.
Right.
He doesn't have any postural problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So that again, I was all hunched over before I got into this whole thing. I was like, as you know, that's why I connected with you, because I was living in pain. My whole journey started from just wanting to be pain free initially, and so everything was like, I was like, essentially my neck was all forward like that. This was overactive, stiff all the time, pain in the lower back, pain in the shoulder, and I remember when people would be like, stand straight, stand straight. I'd do it, but it would feel like work, and I'd
Standing straight is work.
standing straight would feel like work, and I would just be like, you know, how can it? I'm sure it's not this hard for like everybody to just generally stand straight. Like it's not meant to be this hard. Like if you're looking at people around who have good posture, I wonder if they are feeling this level of effort in just being like that. And then I started to realize, as I got into it and I started to strengthen the right muscles and build from the ground up, that essentially we're all just bags of bones, right? Our musculature will hold us up,
Yeah.
however, easily. And once the correct muscles started to strengthen, the posture just created itself. So I think once you rectify it in that way, once you strengthen the correct muscles, it's easiest to be an effort.
Can we do the rest of this in Hindi if you don't mind?
We could try.
हैं? Your Hindi is excellent, by the way. I know that.
It's not. It's terrible.
क्या बात कर रहा है भाई? तू तो बहुत ऐसे करके बोलता है. तेरा ये मसल फायर कर रहा है, इसको ऐसे करने का, ऐसे करने का. Anyway.
Okay. We'll
ठीक है.
try.
नहीं, मैं पर ये जानना चाहता हूँ. And you know, it's like I'm not trying to pressurize you. Just naturally जो आता है वो करते हैं. ठीक है.
हाँ.
You were not a fitness practitioner. ठीक है.
नहीं, yeah.
तेरे पास कोई ऐसा डिग्री नहीं है फिटनेस का, कोई BSc in sports nutrition या physio. You're a
No,
self-taught guy through and through, to the point
Yep.
where you could help others and lead a kind of esoteric fitness movement for others, right? ये शुरुआत कैसी हुई? How did you get into figuring out कि भाई there is something fundamentally wrong in my body and to fix it?
Essentially, in the beginning, like as much as I'd love to have a great story to tell you, like how did you get on this journey? Originally, I was just bored to begin with in lockdown, and I started moving, and I had struggled with depression. So I had read in a lot of places कि movement, you need to get into movement, it'll help you with your whatever, to not need the meds and all of that stuff. But
And इससे पहले you did not work out throughout your life?
nahi, I mean, I had immediately after college, I did like a वो gym bro वाला phase था,
हाँ.
where I just got like really bulky mass gainer लेके,
हाँ.
and
Mass gainer.
हाँ ऐसा, because I just wanted to not be skinny,
हाँ.
but also where you just get big really quickly, and again injury happened, so I just stopped training because my shoulder got this thing. I had a moment of machismo
हाँ.
where I went to load an amp in a car and it tweaked a little bit, and then I kept refiring it. Wahi same how I told you, you go to the physio and they'll tell you, you know, you do these exercises, it gets a little bit better, then you go back to the gym, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to lift these chota weights, I'm going to like send it, and I'd go in over my head and I'd re-injure myself, and I was stuck in that same jal over and over again. Wahi go to the physio, get a little bit better, try it again, and stuck in that loop. So essentially, in lockdown was the first time where I was like, you know what, let me just go out for that 1 hour. One friend of mine was like, chalo, well, let's just get out for a change of scene, where I was stuck at home. So I just started like that. And for the first time in my life, I was eating immaculately. Ghar ka khana only. Doing it for a prolonged period of time, fixed every day, without all my vices. So I was completely clean and like completely in this. And I just filled that same addictive personality wala jo tha, that sphere, with consuming this information. And I just wanted, let me see a little bit more. Kind of got competitive within myself. And as I was finding out more and studying more about it, which is like, thank the internet for all the information you want is just there. As I was studying more about it and learning more about it, my pains were going away. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. Let me see how far I can push it.
And for context, you're 37 years old.
I'm 38. I'll be 39 abhi.
Acha, kya baat hai. So even more. So 39. I'm reiterating this because mostly log assume karte hain the human bendies or the human magnets जो बहुत ज़्यादा लचीले या flexible इंसान होते हैं. Those guys are generally in their 20s. You
Right.
started this at
35.
35,
To be precise.
right? Where all your worst physical patterns are already set in place.
Set in place. I was in like copious amounts of pain. ACL, partial tear, that's which I'm navigating. I had a rotator cuff injury. I had my SI joint was rubbing sciatica. All of which I was just used to, like popping combi flams or physio.
Constant combi flam and physio cycle.
Like it was just the norm. Like I thought, because you see other people also, right? And we all sort of confirmation bias. Ki khali, I'm not the only one suffering with this stuff. There's someone else also going through it. Like that's just how you live.
Yeah, in
Abhi
India,
ho gaya.
people do this.
These are the cards I'm dealt.
Yeah.
Genetics. I got dealt like the rough end. I got the short end of the stick in the genetic pool. Or whatever, you just go down to that and think that.
And you were a slim guy all your life, like slimish.
Yeah,
you were never
always
fat.
I was skinny fat. If anything, I had that toned while arms and legs would be thin. So now that's in your genetic code where you'll store your fat. Mine just goes straight here. Thoda cheeks pe aata tha. But yeah. So so that's where I started from. Getting back to what I was saying is that I started at 35 again. So combining that, now I'm like, my best days are behind me. You know, that ship has sailed. And then as I started to see all this progress and that, what all is possible, I was like, first I had this imposter syndrome. Like, mujhe kyun de raha? Like, you know what I mean? I've wasted all these years of being a degenerate. So then I was like, to baatna padega. So then I started teaching originally with friends, and then it's organically grown to what it is. And we realized that just culturally, I don't think that we know enough about it in this country to prioritize it. Yeah. And I think that a lot of our fellow Indians believe that we have, that genetically we are only.
Yeah, or the prescription for movement is a walk a day. Yeah. Which does not.
Strength training has no premium. You can look up the statistics on that. I can't remember it, but it's like it's ridiculous how few Indians think that strength training is a priority or do it at all. Even if they do strength train, it's like walk max.
Or they villainize protein. Ki protein kyun kharidna hai? Khana hai. Chawal khao na sirf.
Which was me. I'm half Bengali, half Goan. So I grew up with, even if there was protein, it was a side on the plate, and which also dictated being skinny fat, because like ek shake my marta tha, which is now 25 grams and so much of meat. And besides that, I was eating like rice. You know what I mean? For my 2 meals, I'm 6'3".
Yeah.
So that's like not even close to what I actually need. And I had no clue. So that's why you just become thoda sa.
So let's go back to you figuring out कि मैं इसके बारे में कुछ कर सकता हूँ. एक imposter syndrome आता है because again, no degree, right? No prior inclination towards figuring out your body, right?
Correct.
And you're coping with कि यार I have addictive tendencies, right?
Correct.
And I'm bored in the lockdown. मुझे fix करना है. What is the first few signs of bodily awareness that you start developing as a consequence? जैसे कि pre this life, the first few key, maybe your neck starts moving a little better, so you can intuitively understand your awareness has come from maybe from neck up to this part of the neck, and then it's gone to your chest. Like, at what point does it start unlocking for you?
Originally, so as soon as I started to do it, I started to walk. I started with reading the literature on the fact was one side of it, and I was thoroughly going and coming up with a game plan. So as much as everything that I addressed like, why is this happening? So I always had this curious sort of nature. Like if I would attempt pull-ups, like why is this not happening?
Why is the pull-up not happening?
Why is the pull-up not happening, or why are my shoulders shrugging when I'm pulling up? And I'd want to find out why. And that's what I said, thank God for the internet, because there's someone else who's asked that question, who's wondered that. And if you really want to find out why, you'll understand why. And then you get to the how, that, okay, this is why. Now, how do I change that? So now it becomes key, you have to sort out this other problem. Like this muscle is weak. So I would kind of take it apart and then work the parts of the whole. right? And then reattempt that movement that I wanted to do. So everything, because of calisthenics being the form and me using minimal weights, everything was based on me trying to accomplish a movement, right? Which was happening with wrong form per se, and being like, why can't I do it with the right form? Because over here, calisthenics made the difference is that you cannot drop the weight. Your weight is your weight.
Correct.
So this is the difference. Ki if it's a regular exercise, you can take a lighter dumbbell in a gym. But over here, it's like, what do I do? So I have to strengthen these muscles in order to be able to do it with correct form.
Correct.
So you take it apart. You take the movement apart and do the parts of the whole. Uske baad, you try to redo that same movement.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, whoa, it just happened.
Yeah.
You know? So I think initially it was that with movements like the push-up or the pull-up of like, why my shoulders shrugging? That was my biggest, which is a very common problem because of that same thing that I addressed earlier, that the upper trap tends to be overactive and the lower trap or the rhomboid is weaker and underactive. So you can't pull your shoulder blades down and back. You've probably seen a lot of these pull-up videos where they'll be like this, wrong, like this, right. But it takes requiring a whole different muscle group, a whole different muscle to get strong, to be able to make it like that. It's not just magically going to happen. So I think as I started to do that and sit with those smaller muscles, I could see simultaneously hand in hand like pains were going away, things were alleviating, and understanding the correlation.
And how many hours were you putting in?
I had a lot of time in the day. So essentially the whole day.
The whole day you're just figuring out movement.
Pretty much. Like once I got into this, I'd rest, eat, sleep, and I just was.
But this is contrary to what people would say कि अगर आप बहुत intense strength training workout करोगे
I was not working out the whole day. I was studying movement in some way, shape or form.
And trying to move.
Sitting with understanding something about it. I didn't have much else to do. You know what I mean? So I literally thought that, 2 mahine ke liye, I'm going to be doing this. Then it became a little bit more time. Then it became a little bit more time.
Yeah.
So I was spending, like, besides of little windows of time as the lockdowns were opening up and I was starting to get re-socialized and hang with my friends, I was spending a bulk of my day. I'd go to the park in the morning. I'd be there. I'd hang out there, come home, eat lunch, nap for a bit, get up in the evening, read something about it. Not at the park. I wasn't moving the whole day. But I was consuming stuff related to improvement, in whether in a self-improvement sphere, whether it's not necessarily movement related. But yeah, I was most of my day was spent trying to improve the body.
Interesting. Joe, मैंने जब तुम्हारा gym join करा, when I joined your studio, right? I'm going to cut this part out. Where I said I'd join.
It's fine.
Okay. One thing I've noticed with your approach is कि when I come to train with you, मेरे को glutes activate कराने के लिए तुम बोलते हो अपने scabs को activate करो. That's the warm up, right? And I've never activated my glutes to the point that they begin to hurt.
Right.
या आपकी अगर गांड के मसल में burn आ रहा है, you know, लोग बोलते हैं ना कि गांड जलती है, but they say it because it's jealousy. But that entirely changed how I stand up during exercises.
Right.
You know, because the glute muscle is very dominant in the average Indian who sits around all day.
Correct.
Right. To the point where if you do it over time, you get, mostly males get this no ass syndrome, where they don't have an ass.
It's called dead butt syndrome or gluteal amnesia, which is very common.
Yeah.
And so essentially a lot of people don't realize this. So it's a Q question that I ask people when they come in. Initially, I'm like, when is the last time you felt your glutes sore when you're working out? When you squat, do you feel your glutes get sore? And it's astonishingly common for people to say no.
Because they get it in the thighs.
My thighs get sore. And it's like, I was like, what? The more I was experiencing, training more and more people like now, but worked with around 200 plus bodies. Intentionally, meaning not just like, as you know, that if I training with someone, even if it's in a group format, there's very one-on-one, making sure everything is firing and everything, because of the predispositions. Because also, a lot of the people that I am training are 30 plus, where the body is already locked into this thing, where they don't necessarily have a background in working out or having moved. So that awareness, you have to create that awareness. Because they don't have it. to begin with.
Mostly non-athletes, right? Because athletes will naturally have a better body awareness than an average person.
Yeah, and we don't really have that culturally, right? Because there's that person who works out, who's the gym jaane wala banda,
Huh.
and you know what I mean. Then the rest, who will wait till the 30s where there's one alarm bell,
Yeah.
and then they're getting up to now start working out. It's changing, yes,
Right.
but it's still new. So yes, there's this same thing: the gluteal amnesia, the overactiveness of this muscle, the dormantness of the lower muscle. So to create that awareness, so you're moving correctly and you're moving well. I think that's really important to prevent injury, especially when you're getting into the game older, where it takes you longer to heal and all of this stuff. And you're not just taking the body you're given, you're creating the body you want.
Right. Yeah, I remember when I started doing the pull-ups, and हमारे को बचपन में जो हमने देखा है जिम ट्रेनर्स के साथ साथ, all well meaning again, कि पुल-अप्स को आपको खत्म करना है, मतलब आपको 6 पुल-अप करने ही करने हैं.
Yeah.
वो 6 पुल-अप कैसे हो, it does not matter.
Correct.
And then you said your traps are over active. आपके traps इतने active हैं कि बहुत सारे लोग मुझे compliment देते हैं, you've got great traps. And I'm like, bro, it's
No,
such
you do.
right, but it's such a disadvantage because these traps are not built out of me training them. They've come as a compensatory movement, right? क्योंकि और कोई ना कोई muscle inactive है, तो ये साले traps काम करते रहते हैं non-stop to the point where I'm holding so much tension here at all times.
Correct.
And this is sadly the symptom of many of my generation where we're holding tension here. It should be the scap. So if you could perhaps describe why is the scapula so massively undertrained?
I mean, it's a combination of muscle, the scapula essentially. The one, what you're talking about is essentially the rhomboid is the one to blame in this particular movement, which is what is most commonly underused. It's the one below where we hold our stress, just below, in between your shoulder blades, which is most commonly the one you just activated. It's most commonly underused, and it's why it's underused and why it gets weak is just if you don't use it, right? You have a limited amount of nutrition that's going to the body. You're sitting like this all the time. If you just think about it logically, it's like, what's this person's body using all the time? So that muscle is just getting stronger. The brain just keeps sending the signal there to a point where it's so overactive. I've seen certain people where they're doing maybe even abs, right? And as soon as the body gets put under any stress, they start flexing it. And you know what I mean? Like this muscle is not going to be able to do a crunch for you. But they're doing the crunches also like that with it. So, you need to get mindful about it. You need to build it from the ground up. It's just essentially why it's overactive is it's postural and because of screens, man. As an oversimplification, why the glutes are underactive is because people are sitting too much. They are, and they'll prioritize sitting at a height. You want the higher the chair, the better.
Yeah.
So you're just loading your quad as soon as you get off that chair because you're not sitting deep enough, which is the glute territory. Yeah, so those are the two main.
Yeah, also, what do you think about this? Because, you know, I enrolled for a yoga class in Delhi when I was there and I texted you. There was a lot of wrist movement and my right wrist pained a lot. It was not supposed to happen.
Right, interesting.
And I was wondering why. Of course, there are times when I'm literally using my phone so much.
The cell phone.
In the, even the base end of the iPhones is at least half a kilo, I'm assuming, right? 500 gram का तो वो होता ही है.
Correct.
और आप wrist को इतना ज़्यादा damage करते हो उसको उठा के बार-बार. The point that this wrist is always flicking, you can feel the crunch जो bones के अंदर. And I'm like, I wonder what will happen 10 years from now as more children grow up. They're going to have slightly damaged wrists.
100%. It's carpal tunnel.
Yeah. What is it
There's
called?
actually something.
Okay.
It's called carpal tunnel syndrome, where that's exactly what it is. Where there's nerve pain that's caused by holding self, like it's caused for like by repeated movement essentially. So a lot of people in certain professions would get it earlier, but now it's commonly getting caused by holding the phone. I know some people who've come to me that have said that their physios and their doctors have told them that it's because of holding their phone and the way that they're holding their phone, and it's large, like this Pro Max, and you have a little hand and they're holding their phone like that. They're actually getting I don't want to give them a bad name, but a couple of influencers, because they're probably using their phone more than the average person, are getting this problem now, and it's increasingly common. So all that you can kind of hope is that the first round of the problems occurs, and then people start to become aware of it,
Right.
like so, and then we start countering it. The phones can get a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Or how to hold it, or so that you hold it less. That's what.
Yeah, like I know
start
this
happening.
looks ridiculous. This pose. What I'm doing for the listeners is I'm holding my hands up like this. I mean, but this offers a lot of rest, this position.
Exactly.
Because you can get your shoulders kind of in the back and
Exactly.
hold your phone like this. Yeah.
Yep.
What about the neck though, bro? What do we do about the neck? The neck, like I think neck pains इतने ज़्यादा ordinary हैं, इतने ज़्यादा common हो गए हैं कि everyone's managing it somehow.
Right. It's essentially it's the same thing.
Which is what?
The neck thing is the trap thing.
But how?
In a nutshell.
But अगर
There's
किसी
a
को neck
direct-
pain हो रहा है,
Yeah.
so how do they start relieving it or start understanding कि यार I want to fix this because it's the thing that rests, your head rests on the neck.
Yeah. So, this neck pain thing, something that I'll notice is when you make people do exercises face up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe like glute bridge or like when they go to do abs, they like forget my abs, my neck is paining more than my abs, and they get into this thing, right? But they want to hold their neck and they pull the neck forward.
Correct.
Again, that is a function of if you don't use it, you lose it. Which is in this plane, the upper trap muscle can hold the neck, as you can see.
Right.
Right? Can hold the head, sorry, my bad. But in this plane, it can't. When you lean back, it can't. So these muscles are basically just underused. So a lot of people actually do neck training, right? But essentially, what you can do is you can lie on your bed and just hang your head off it for a little while.
That's very therapeutic. बहुत मजे आते हैं करके.
Look left, look right, hold it up again. Not just drop it down, which is good for your hair.
Right.
But not just drop it down, but hold it up for a while. Just keep it neutral. Look left, look right.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Just to keep the neck muscles themselves, active and firing. Whereas basically what's happened is this muscle is just taking the weight of your head when your neck is forward. Right? And in this plane, as you can see, it can't. If you lean your neck back, you'll see this muscle gets relaxed. Right? So essentially that's what it is. You just gotta use it. We've got to put our bodies in positions other than this more frequently. And just like any other muscle, it just needs to be trained. The neck as a muscle. It gets weak over time.
For the people that come to you, I mean, this could be like I'm in my late 20s, but people generally in their 30s, that's who you mostly deal with now. What's the most common postural problems that you've observed?
These two things that I've mentioned to you straight up. Actually, there's another one that I didn't mention. One is the overactive upper trap, underactive glute. And the third one is a lot of people have a lower back pain, right? Where they don't know why it is. And they think that my lower back both weak hai. And that couldn't be further away from the truth. Usually, wherever you have pain in your body, the issue is is the neighbor or the guy opposite the street. In which case, I mean the glute or the abs that are weak, that are not doing their job. Because of which the lower back is paining. Because it's overloaded. That's 99% of the time what the case is. Don't quote me on that statistic, but that's most of the time that's what the case is. Another postural thing that I notice a lot of people do is, in order to stand straight, instead of just putting their shoulder blade back and keeping the spine neutral, what they do is they pop their sternum out. And the tailbone and the sternum sort of dance together. So they pop their sternum out like that, and the tailbone pops out also. So now their spine their lower back is overloaded. Right? The abs are in a stretched position. Right? In an extended position. And the spine is compressed. The lower lumbar is compressed.
Correct.
Right? And by virtue of which they're overloading their lower back in general. And if you get your body into that position, you'll notice your glutes will start to fire less. Your abs will over time get weaker. So it sort of becomes like a chicken and the egg thing. You're doing it to stand straight, and then they're making these muscles weaker. And then it's more of an effort to stand straight. And then your lower back starts to hurt. So this is another really common postural issue besides the...
And what does hanging do? Does hanging cure you of most, like for example, when I was in deep pain, abhi bhi mera shoulder काफी ये वाला damaged है. I had a fall many years ago and I didn't do proper physio. It just remained. Like this is the most problematic area of my body as far as I'm concerned. What I found is over time, if I hang, I feel some pain here as I hang. But largely, it completely kills that sensation of pain या फिर damage या एक ये भारीपन यहाँ पे for a few seconds or sometimes a few minutes, depending on how long I hang.
See, also that's I wouldn't suggest it for an injury till you know the nature of the injury. Because sometimes it could be beneficial in a certain term. It could be, in certain cases, it could be beneficial. In certain cases, it could not be what you want to be doing because you're aggravating it. But in general, hanging decompresses the body. It decompresses the spine. By design, we're meant to hang. So everyone should. be able to at least hang, because one is it works your grip strength, two is it decompresses the spine. But yeah, as an injury thing, if you have injured shoulders, I'd be like, get it looked at and figure out whether hanging, if you're ready to. Eventually you must, but if you're ready to, while the pain is acute, you might not necessarily want to. But in general, everyone should be able to hang. You should be able to squat. You should be able to do a push-up.
If you can't do these, you are at a risk of mortality.
I just believe that the body by design, I believe so also, but I believe that the body by design should be able to do this much.
अगर मेरे पास जैसे you've got abs, right? I've got a fatty stomach, okay?
Yes.
इसके नीचे कहीं abs छुपे होंगे, उनको निकालना पड़ेगा वो टाइम. पर अब मेरे पास abs की strength नहीं है. Is that the reason why I have lower back pain, which is what you were saying? Is because now this is basically unused completely.
Right.
Right? Is that what it is?
Yes, it's because of either the abs and or the glutes. It's very likely due to that. Why?
No, because mostly people skip ab training because they assume कि मुझे six packs तो बनाने ही नहीं है.
Haan,
like कि
but
क्या
that's not about it. See, now we're talking about the core, right? You need to train your core, which is a set of muscles around the midsection. The abs are the six pack. This is not necessarily a direct translation to strength, a visible six pack. That's just low body fat percentage. That's just by virtue of a calorie deficit.
Correct.
Right? There's 0% correlation. If you look at a world strongman, he's got a big gut, but they have absurdly strong abs. Right?
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how you can't move heavyweight with weak abs. Right? So, so there is no 0% correlation between body fat percentage and visible abs.
Okay, I did not know that. That is a surprise.
A lot of people actually think there's correlation. That's one of the most common misconceptions. And I've actually seen some people jiska matlab full six pack hai, but like when they lie on their back, if they go to do a leg raise, they'll be in like excruciating pain from their lower back seizing because they could see the biscuits. They have neglected training it completely.
I see.
So the abs have actually gotten weak in the lower back. They've become lower back dependent. The lower back is overactive.
Yeah.
And so when they go to lift their legs, or if they go to do a leg raise, lying leg raise, which the exercise.
Yeah.
If they go to a basic lying leg raise, lower back pe aa jata hai.
Yeah. Okay, tell me something. If I come to a calisthenics gym or I do this, I do a non-gym में जाके trainer से बात करके strengthening routine जहाँ मैं एक दिन वो स्मिथ मशीन यूज कर रहा हूँ, एक दिन मैं बेंच यूज कर रहा हूँ, where I'm just pushing or pulling to gain size, right? If I don't follow that model and I follow this esoteric model, the thing that still happens, I know it's esoteric now, one day mainstream हो जाएगा,
Right.
Hopefully. The issue that still arises is कि मैं फिर भी, if I'm doing the calisthenics, I'm still wondering, यार, what is the role of recovery and physios and recuperation and all of this? क्योंकि मैं exercise से अपने pains कैसे fix करूँ? मैं strengthen कर सकता हूँ muscle को. The pain still remains, right?
Right.
So does this art form, this style of exercise, does it also help with pain?
It's not necessary that you can just deload and do really light weights through correct ranges of motion in a gym using weights, right? That is just my model that I've chosen. Even as you can see that when I train people, it's hybrid calisthenics. So it's a purist nahi. In fact, I think that the purist is a foolish man.
Okay.
I've learned as much as I have in a short span of time because I have taken little bit from here, little bit from there, little bit from everything and been like, this works where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So if there's someone following this, let me see what it is about this thing. Let me see what it is, in which I've kind of taken what, as I will continue to learn and adapt through time. But I think there's something beautiful about being able to move your body through space and just being able to gain a certain amount of mastery of this in itself. But there's no hard and fast thing that you cannot do it in a gym.
Yeah.
You can go to a gym, but do it with the correct intent and approach, with a good trainer, which I believe that anyone beginning training should not just go to a gym and they need to understand it from the ground up so that they're doing it, and there are professionals for a reason, and you have to spend that time to study it and understand what is going on and why you're doing it so as to not do it wrong.
Yeah, I also think कि आप जब कभी भी किसी भी fitness or anything that you train in, it's very important to absolutely trust the expert But to completely lose your agency on your own body की ये कराएगा.
No. That's completely, that's
No, there are many people like this. No, कि ये अरे तू करा दे यार,
correct.
तू देख
In
ले.
fact,
मैं
even I approach it as a teacher. That's my approach. Like, I want, if anyone I'm training or anyone I'm training with, I like to believe that within 3 months to 6 months, you should at least know enough from me to be able to do this on your own. I am trying to, you know what I mean? Let's understand this together, your body together, and so that you have the tools to know how Vinamra needs to move
right.
without me in the room, ideally, right? So, but there are, surprisingly, in fact, I was blown by, sometimes I'm trying to explain this to people, ki like, bhai, you should not need me to be there, or like, if you're working out in a hotel gym, if you're traveling or whatever, I'm trying to give you the tools. Why do you not want them? But there are some people that are like, nahi bhai, mujhe bas batao. You just tell me what to do and I'll do it, and I'm here for my 1 hour and I'm going to go. And I think they don't realize how much that is not serving them, because there's either an injury pending, or you'll be hitting the wrong muscle when you're doing it. Or I think it's important, for just as much as anything that we think is important, to learn your own body. At least it's the baseline stuff about it. To be able to move it correctly, to understand, oh, these are my injuries, these are my predispositions, I need to watch for this in my body. I think that is very important. That's why I like to consider myself a coach or a teacher more than a trainer. Because I don't want to just count your reps. I want to teach you how to not need me.
Correct.
Ideally, if I'm doing what I'm doing well, within 3 months to 6 months, I should be able to teach you how to not need me. Sure, then if you want to hone your skill set, if you want to learn that further, and if you're having a blast, let's hang out. Magar, I'm not doing my job well if you don't know how to do this without me.
Correct. Yeah, I remember when I was completely massively unfit in the lockdown, मैंने अपनी बॉडी की एजेंसी छोड़ दी थी. बॉडी एकदम स्लगिशली होती थी. आई अज्यूम कि वर्कआउट से कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा, बट इट वुड जस्ट ऑफसेट मी फॉर अ फ्यू आवर्स बिफोर the misery began all over again. It's only when I gradually started to go on the internet, and then eventually when I moved here and I found you, I realized कि मेरी body बहुत चीज़ों के लिए capable है. And it would be a disservice, what's the Aristotle quote, you know, it would be a disservice for me to not see my body in its peak prime, right, before I age. क्योंकि imagine you're living in this thing all your life, and I mean, you know, you spend so much time decorating your Instagram or your house and whatnot.
Exactly.
When it comes to your body, you're like, कुछ भी जा रहा है, कुछ भी आ रहा है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, चलता है क्या, जिंदगी बड़ी stressful है. So instead of dealing with life as it is, you just use your body as a coping mechanism for all the shit. This is the thing that processes your stress. This is the thing that processes your inflammation. This is the thing that processes all the emotional blows that people give you. It's a thing that's always taking all the shit that's thrown at you. And you don't serve it enough.
That's exactly where I was coming from on this entire journey of mine, which is why I dedicated like all my time to it, because I spent so much of time abusing it, like massively, as I've told you. I had a problem with substance and all of that, right? Alcohol, the works. Let's not even get into it. But when I saw my body giving me back, it almost felt like it was waiting for me to just, you know what I mean, show that little bit of love, and it started showing me this much more back. And I tell a lot of people who come to train with me, I'm like, bhai, there's only one thing which is going to be around for as many minutes as you, bro. That's this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Understand it, learn it, give it what it needs. And in doing so, I've just realized that that's what I'm trying to share, right? I didn't think in my wildest dreams, bhai, that my body would be capable of any of this stuff. Like, I'm doing like, you know what I...
Yeah. We'll post some videos of what is actually possible when you can go to your level where you can do Superman's planks, the whole
yeah, exactly. And this is coming from when I started at 35, just for context. A push-up was mar ke, you know what I mean? With like bad form. Pull-up, I couldn't do one full range pull-up at 35. I started then. And I'm here by 39. And I could do a lot of this already. Okay, sure. I don't expect other people to put in the amount of time and be as, psycho about it as me perhaps. But just what the body is capable of, if you just mindful about it in a short span of time,
Yeah.
it's insane. And that's the feeling that essentially I just wanted to share with more people, and I'm continuing to figure out how to grow it and to share it with more people. Ki, bhai, you have no idea. Even when people come to me, you know, when clients, they say clients.
Huh.
Yeah, like I feel like strange using that term.
Huh.
But if people come to train and they give you their goals, I'm sure like I'm like, I think a trainer will take those goals on board. A good trainer maybe even help them meet it.
Yeah.
But a really good coach will help you understand that your goals are just cute compared to what you're capable of. Because way more people severely underestimate themselves, and they have some very baseline aesthetic goal, which is still not even as good, because you aesthetically also, with the correct diet and everything, you can be whatever you want to be. You can look as ripped as you want to look. Like, sure, there's a genetic predisposition, but what one thinks their body is capable of. Like, if I show someone a video and be like, "Bhai, do you think your body is capable of this?" Most people will say no.
Yeah.
You know, and being able to share that feeling is why I do this, to just be like, bro, dekh le, you know what you're capable
I think going back to the basics of absolutely working on how each muscle works. जैसे ये फर्क मैंने तब देखा है. मैं बहुत सारे typical gym trainers को भी जानता हूँ, या ऐसे बंदों को जानता हूँ जो buff है, और मैं I know lots of army guys. Look, the army guys are not the buffest, but they're the strongest
strength,
people. They have true physical strength.
Correct.
Their grip strength is that of a monster. You know, they can move their bodies with grace. Something else I wanted to talk to you about today is, जब हम किसी डांसर को देखते हैं, हम किसी आइस स्केटर को देखते हैं, हम देखते हैं उनकी बॉडी थ्रू स्पेस कितनी लचीली, खूबसूरत तरीके से, ग्रेस इज द वर्ड, राइट? देयर्स ग्रेस, देयर्स अ फिनेस, देयर्स अ पॉइज. And then you get to someone like me or someone else who's in this earlier on, and like आप में कितना ज़्यादा poor hand-eye coordination है, आप you're moving through space in a very ugly manner, right? And the journey to grace of moving your body gracefully is something I'm very interested in. I think that's possible through your style.
I think that as I've seen, like I didn't think that my body would be able to move so fluidly and like whatever, but I think that it very much can be taught. Sure, like there might be certain genetic predispositions towards rhythm and towards whatever, you know, as it is.
Right.
But I believe that it very much can be taught. And if the younger you start, the easier it is, because we're less rigid at the time, for sure. But if you just spend the correct time with awareness of the body and you just practice the patterns, that fluidity just comes from repetition. It comes from you just do it. You're just greasing the groove. It's just about how much you're doing it, that it becomes so matter of factly that then you can just flow. And I very much think, as I'm seeing more and more, that I found myself contradicting what I originally believed, that you're just born with it or you're not. It very much can be learnt.
I remember in my rock climbing days talking about आपकी body में कितनी agency होती है और आप क्या capable हो. When I was doing rock climbing a lot, every wall, which अगर हम दो इंसान खड़े हैं, कोई इंसान बहुत अच्छा fit भी होगा, वो wall और environment को देख के मैं obstacles बता सकता हूँ, how I can climb it. And I will make a mental map and do it. I've scaled my own house several times. Now the walls are so goddamn high that it's practically impossible, but I still know a way, right? Because that training is still there कि मैं ये शरीर है, ठीक है, ये थोड़ा skinny fat है, ये सब है, कोई बात नहीं, लेकिन मैं ये कर सकता हूँ. दूसरा इंसान है, मेरे से ज्यादा फिट है, वो नहीं कर सकता. Because he's like, bro, दीवार, like कैसे जाएंगे, how will we scale it? But is that specific agency that the body has got through one kind of practice that has allowed this person, me in that case, to, you know, like navigate environment. And log realize nahi karte, when you have agency over your body, you become useful. You become far more useful to society, to people around you in a way that you don't understand.
You do not understand. I wish that more people understood this. And I think only after people reach there, and sometimes when it happens later in life, sometimes you see the difference. Because for someone like me, I didn't understand it because I had it. I was like sporty up till college. Then I lost it when I got into the bad patterns and stuff, and then I regained it. So you just kind of see how much more you can just be of use and of service just in life in general when you have that agency, and how cool that is, and how easily we lose it and just reconcile ourselves to the fact that, you know, mera aisa hi hai, I can't do it. It's not within me. Like so many of my friends are just like, they don't have any concept. They've never even given it a go. They just believe that it's not for them and it's not possible.
Yeah, talk to me more about this idea of being high energy or being light on the body. कि जैसे मुझे पता है, if you show up 100%, right? Like if you're low energy, you will figure out a way कि मेरी body कमजोर क्यों feel कर रही है, why am I feeling tired, maybe I'll rest, right? I feel like people who are very ambitious but still low energy fight their way through life using caffeine and other substances कि अपने ambitious goals achieve करने हैं.
Right.
But their body does not help them along the way, right? So they power through using a bunch of chemicals because now we have that in our society, right? How have you generally been able to increase your energy levels using this practice?
Firstly, the biggest misconception that a lot of people have is that, and why a lot of people don't work out, or the reason they use, is that, bhai, I'm so busy, I don't have any time to work out. But you don't. Level 1 is just working out itself will increase your energy levels, as you have seen, right? 1. 2 is we don't realize how much our consumption patterns influence it. Like the things we're eating, and I didn't realize the correlation of that till much later, like till now.
Yeah.
So there's a massive combination of factors. The more and more we get into it now, that's what's becoming apparent with the Apple Watch and Fitbits and such, is like your sleep.
Yeah.
How well you're sleeping, how many hours is it, what is the quality of that sleep. So there's a multitude of factors that will eventually add up to you having that high enough energy level. So I can't pin it down to one particular thing, because it is a synergy of all of the above, like that need to come together for you to move with high enough energy to do the things that you love.
I see. Yeah. When you were dealing with your addictions and you started to move, did the movement act as a therapy for processing some of the tendencies that you had? For example, मुझे लगता है कि अगर मैं अपनी body के साथ बहुत वक्त बिताऊंगा and I keep doing this, I have this, maybe I don't know, maybe I will end up solving a lot of my problems because I don't know if you know about Elliot Hulse, bioenergetics. It's a very old style of training.
Right.
मैंने college, school में discover करा था उसको, where he would hyperoxygenate the body, right? Throw around oxygen in the body and using a bunch of moving oxygen around and kundalini, he would do tons of releases. I started to do those releases. And उसके अंदर या तो deep anger निकल के आता है, or you start crying, all of that. And I had some YouTube videos on it and at 2016 got tons of views. Yeah. And that led me to really, really validate this hypothesis. The body keeps the score, this kind of where they say that unprocessed emotions are stored in the body.
Right.
I started to believe that perhaps simply going to therapy or journaling or finding a meaningful activity will not be able to do the trick for like pristine mental health, if there is.
Right.
It has to come through the body.
100%.
Did you have examples?
Movement is key for sure, because once I started doing it, I could tell, I can still notice it, because mental health is very much something that you will always not cured tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like you'll feel the low, and the low will come differently. And I've noticed how much movement plays a vital part in my mental state, just as much as like breath does, meditation does, but like movement plays a surprisingly vital part. At least to me, and I believe like a lot of other people who have used this route and not wanted to do continued down the pharmaceutical road, have felt that the way is one. We know that it's one. We've heard that in theory. But when you practice it and you sit with it, you realize how much that is actually true. And being your best self, I believe, is impossible without some level of mastery of the body.
Could you give some examples where maybe you had a breakthrough by, as you were recuperating your mental health by using movement?
See, for a large chunk of it, I didn't have one light bulb moment. I kept doing it and noticed over time the improvement in my overall mental state, as it is with a lot of certain types of like natural supplements, right? It's not day and night. Aaj main, like, you know what I mean? Today I did this. So it's more that I've noticed it जब भी मैं नहीं करता हूँ,
हाँ.
like when in the absence of it,
Yeah.
or if I'm like just maybe I'm just busy with other stuff, or I'm not I'm not sat for long enough with my own practice, for whatever reason. Maybe I have family in town, or if I have whatever, I notice that dip. I notice that I'm starting to become a little bit more reactive. I notice that I'm getting into a bit of a slump. I notice that I'm having a larger reaction to the same exact scenario that I would have otherwise. So it's more that I notice the difference in the absence of movement.
Yeah.
That when I notice it, because I've moved, I'm feeling so much better immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I think that it's more that than one singular moment.
I only asked because there's been a few times मैंने एक बार 30-40 सूर्य नमस्कार एक के बाद एक करे थे.
Right.
By the end I was crying. I don't know why.
Right.
I think something
That's a purge.
it just purged, right?
Yeah.
That's why I was asking ki
Huh.
sometimes it'll happen like in the gym when you're like going on like full rock, metal, more, whatever.
Yep.
But it happened through the Surya Namaskar as my body was holding these poses stiffly. It's happened through yoga, which is why I think that there is generally a correlation between putting your body through these movement practices and emotional releases. That
100%. That's known.
yeah. That's why I was asking if there is something.
100%. For me personally, I haven't had that sort of a day and night experience. Mine is more of a cumulative thing, and then I notice the dips in the absence of. Right. During movement itself, I haven't had one of these moments. In fact, I've heard of these stories, and I've wanted to have one for myself.
Yeah. Okay.
But I haven't yet.
थोड़ा और दर्द बढ़ाओ तो हो जाएगा.
नहीं बढ़ाना नहीं है.
नहीं बहुत ज़्यादा दर्द है.
नहीं बढ़ाना नहीं है.
Yeah, but see, bro, when someone tries to do it for the first time, what should they generally like focus on? Ki you said you borrowed from different disciplines. There is the Ido Portal school, which I took. I took some classes in New York briefly.
Right.
वो हम दीवार के पास खड़े हुए और हमने पहले सर लगाया, फिर थोड़ी लगाई, फिर चेस्ट लगाई. That spinal wave.
Yeah.
Some low squats, walking like a lizard, walking like a frog, all of that. Very fun stuff. Little challenging on the body starting में. तो वो है. There is that school. There is a whole like animal flow school that exists where you funnily move like animals. There's so many different schools, fascial training and all. Why did you then like? What can people do when they want to start this?
I would say that one is just free squat.
Yeah.
Right? Just get a squat happening.
Knees over toes or regular?
It's knees over toes, like we're meant to be.
Okay.
Yeah, all the way down. Like we are just meant to sit Indian toilet pe.
Better.
All the way down. That's where your squat should end. And stand up. Make sure that you're feeling it in your glutes and your thighs. One, get a basic push-up happening. And you can work towards a pull-up. Eventually, you can start with what's called an Australian pull-up, which is a sort of rowing movement where you're just inclined a little bit and then you can progress it. Okay. We can have a whole different segment for this stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, you need a pushing movement, a pulling movement, a squat, and what you call a hinge.
What's
essentially, a hinge is like a Romanian deadlift.
Okay.
Right? Or a deadlift.
Got it.
Yeah. Where you're leading back with your hips. Right? Those are the main just baseline movements that everyone should just have in their arsenal. And anyone can start this. Like calisthenics, when people think of calisthenics, they're thinking of this intense freestyle and like people flying from bars. Sure, that is calisthenics too. But just moving your body, using your own body weight, moving your body through space is calisthenics itself.
I want to talk about the knees for a bit because बहुत सारे लोगों को over time knee pain हो जाता है.
Right.
खासकर it's very prevalent in like say older people a lot in the country where suddenly like they're taking medication या फिर वो तेल लगा रहे होते हैं अपनी knee पे उसको offset करने के लिए pain को.
Right.
And I'm not sure what to do about knee pain because even I have some knee pain. I'm thinking about it. मैं ऐसे बैठा हूँ, मेरी knee अभी ऐसे मुड़ी हुई है. Right? If I sit like this, it'll probably feel better.
Right.
But I don't know if there is a definitive way to heal the knee through training.
There most certainly is. Heal the knee. It depends on whether there's an injury to begin with, but usually the knee pain is a result of the muscles around it being weak. Therefore, the joint is getting overloaded.
But one could say, यार हम तो पूरे दिन walk कर रहे हैं.
Yeah, but that you need to specifically strength train and progressively overload it
Yeah.
for there to be enough adaptations in the muscle
Hmm.
for it to help bolster your joints, because that's essentially what you think about it, right? When you talk about like weak knees, or you think about like weak elbows or weak wrists, when people say I've got like, if your joint is only as strong as the muscles that surround it, right? So what you want to do is you want to be strength training those muscles in full ranges of motion to actually help that joint. Again, like if you're just bending your knee up and doing partial range of motion squats, just to make the thigh muscle look big, that's not really going to help your joint. You want to strengthen all the way through by working the end ranges of motion. Another common misconception is where people confuse flexibility for mobility.
Yeah, please talk about that. I don't know the difference between either.
Yeah, so flexibility is, for lack of a better way, mobility is strength at the end ranges, right?
Okay.
A good, easy way for me to explain it to you is flexibility is if you can do a full split, right? But you're not mobile if you need to crawl out of it, right? Yeah.
Right.
So mobility is like if you can go all the way over to all the way down and you can get back up too.
Okay.
To apply strength through the joint and movement through the joint is what is mobility. Flexibility is just being able to like bend, touch your toes. You understand?
Okay.
So that's a very common misconception. And in fact, flexibility in the absence of mobility can actually be detrimental. You can actually get hurt, right? If you're hyper flexible and you don't have strength at those end ranges.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking because in earlier when I was younger in school, I would see these kids जो पूरे पैर छू लेते थे अपने. You know, they could do toe touches properly and go all the way down. They could do splits and whatnot. But I don't think they were the strongest kids. They were just very, very flexible.
Right. So see now there, even within flexibility, there's a genetic predisposition that everybody has. So some people have to work harder to get it. Some people don't, that's just your body. But that's the whole point. Kids, in fact, would tend to be mobile because they're strong. We lose that strength over time. But there's no one thing. That's what I'm saying. Ideal situation is to work both your strength and your flexibility and tie them together and be mobile and have strength at those end ranges. But that's essentially what we want as a longevity tool. You want to be mobile. You want to be able to sit all the way down and stand all the way up.
Yeah.
So I believe that basically, I believe strength training is the only way to take care of your joints.
You don't focus on building size क्योंकि when I first came to you and I said, bro,
I personally, because of what I want to do, because of all the skills, I don't have an absurd premium on it. For me, as it happens, it happens. My premium is on skill, just personally. But it's to each their own. Whatever you want to do, whatever your goals are, however you want to move, right? Some people, even who train with me, if they have a premium on hypertrophy, if they want to get big, like we know how to do it.
Yeah.
The science is there, So you just apply that formula then. So it's completely goal based. But for me personally, because I'm 6'3", I'm not putting a premium on getting any bigger than I can move. Right? I want to be able to move my body and do all the cool things. So I always want to be a little stronger than I am big for myself.
I see. And when it comes to just overall postural relief, what can people do at home? Like agar if someone is like, no, fuck all of these guys, ye kya baatein kar rahe hain? Like, I don't care. I'm still going to sit on my computer. I'm an internet entrepreneur. This is how I make my money. But I still don't want to be completely like on meds or have to do surgery. Like Elon Musk, he got some disc surgeries because he was so fucking busy. He could not work out.
Right.
So he just got some artificial discs installed. I think something like that. What's the bare minimum people can do to at least fix this forward hunch of the neck and this rounding of the back and the shoulders?
I feel like one is people can just stretch, counter the tight muscle that is there, right? And just like I'm saying, it's not very hard. You can find this kind of information online by just, saying that so and so muscle is tight, trap, release or whatever.
Yeah.
But one is to release your trap, like so. It's really simple. Just like stretch it, like you intuitively feel it the more you sit with your body. But secondly, the thing is that's just navigating the symptom. What you need to do is you need to strengthen counter muscles. Like you need to strengthen your rhomboid. So you like there's a whole routine that we can maybe go through at some point in time if it interests people, of how they can activate and minutely strengthen the muscles that are required for good posture.
Right.
stretch certain and strengthen certain. That yeah, there's no one thing. And basically you need to strength train. This is again what you're asking me is like a little magic bullet situation. It doesn't exist. So I wouldn't want to feed that sort of narrative or what is this little thing that you can do. There's a lot of these gimmicky contenty videos being like, oh, you have this pain, just get up from your, sure, you can get up from your desk and do that. It's only going to help you so much, bro.
Right.
Go to a gym or go to wherever you are, go to those classes and learn how to make your body strong to not have that pain, not how to relieve it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, what do you think about balance? Like I was telling you, bro, कि बहुत सारे लोग different तरीके से balance होते हैं. Some people are very right dominant or left dominant, and I often think it's a consequence of maybe their feet not being splayed out, the toes not being splayed out, or having or wearing too much shoes. Is that something that you think about a lot? कि you know, some people,
which is why I train with like barefoot style shoes.
Yeah.
Where my toes can move freely.
Yeah.
And a lot of I think that's coming more and more to light slowly. Where you're seeing the advent of barefoot shoes.
Yeah.
And that people are kind of taking away the crutches of like just put the arch support and like if you don't need it just yet, that muscle's going to go dormant. You know what I mean? Let it work. So you're causing it to fall flat. Like that makes no sense. Where to just maintain healthy feet, and how everything goes from the ground up. That tight shoes are a problem over time, and I think that's coming to light now more and more. So I don't think it's as much of a problem in our culture specifically. This is one of the few things that isn't, because we walk barefoot a lot. We wear open toe shoes a lot more than the West. So I actually feel like, strangely enough, this is one of the problems that you find lesser here, because obviously the people working very tight close shoes for their day jobs in work, in the urban people will tend to have this problem. But just walk around barefoot a lot.
Yeah, I was very happy that, you know, your studio has a very open toe policy, you know, barefoot policy, which is very good, because for most people, that's the only amount of barefoot time they will get, you know, because they will be able to train like this. Then they have to wear, some people are like, you know, of different professions, they have to be out and about, and women have to wear heels, which is like probably like horrible for your feet, right? Right. But I recently met this woman, and she was just, you know, she was sitting barefoot. And I was looking at her feet, you know, like I wasn't looking at him like, wow, I like feet, you know, but I was very interested because her feet had her toes were so far away from each other. And I said, wow, you actually have the kind of feet that what would happen one should have. Yeah. She's like, I'm sorry, they look horrible. I'm like, pagal hai kya? She's like, I've been barefoot all my life. Right. My mom scolded me, but in my house as a kid, after school, I would walk barefoot all the time. Right. So cumulatively, her area of contact for the foot was massive. She stands like very erect, like she's got a very great posture. Yeah. And I was like, that's crazy.
I had to rectify mine the same way because of combined with sports, with basketball shoes. In fact, they get particularly tight. So I wore toe spacers and all for a while to rectify the thing.
Do those help, the toe spacers?
100%.
Yeah.
But they're very uncomfortable initially. So you have to brave it for a little while. Especially the more they're overlapping, the more it will hurt.
What do you mean by overlapping? Like kaise?
Like my toes were squished together. So.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? But they're almost squished to a point where they are overlapping.
Yeah.
So the more they are squished and the more they are like that, the more it will hurt you. But it's worth that little time, and then the pain eases after. Like braces, like for your teeth.
Achha,
Similar concept.
So can you wear them over?
No,
you wear socks over them?
No, you could wear socks over them, but they would unlikely they'd fit inside a shoe.
Achha.
So you'd wear them for a certain, like maybe to sleep for a certain amount of the day, and then you just try and spend more time barefoot, and then it sorts itself out over time.
Yeah. When you wore the toe spacers, what did you feel like? Did you feel like you were easier on the body, more balanced?
At the time, it felt really strange to begin with. So you have to make it over that hump. Because first, it's extremely uncomfortable when you wear it. It feels like super strange because also it's like realigning and readjusting other things, right? All those compensations that were happening.
Of course.
All the compensations that were happening by virtue of the overlap.
Yeah.
So now that is getting undone. So like everything feels weird for a while because it's going up the body.
Right.
Yeah, you'll feel it.
Yeah, people don't realize it. I keep telling you about my long TMJ rant whenever I visit you. That one long Invisalign treatment for over a year has altered every single joint in my body. It's changed everything. I used to believe कि अच्छा मतलब अभी भी मतलब modern science इतना catch up नहीं करा है. They've got all the best treatments and whatnot. They still believe we'll treat the jaw in isolation and that'll be it.
Correct.
And your neck,
Yep, and then it
shoulder,
starts to develop.
everything starts to like if I had some pain here that aggravated the toe pain. So I wonder if I wear the toe spacers, it'll actually maybe help me out or make it worse.
I mean, it's worth giving it a shot. Your feet seem fine, but I'm saying it's worth giving it a shot.
Yeah. No, I think I'm very interested.
I don't have extensive knowledge with reference to TMJ specifically.
Okay, yeah, but you
All
do-
of whatever I've heard of it has mostly come from you.
Yeah, so sad, no? No, but this is what I was saying. I met this, I briefly talked to you about this. I met this craniofacial release instructor
Correct.
for a while.
Correct.
And she was like, I'm always looking for people who can help my clients through
Right.
movement. And I was talking about you, and she said, I always prefer if people are self-trained because they've
Right.
sort of tried everything.
Right.
I think sometimes what happens is, especially in India, these sports sciences and these health movements don't really catch up academically, at least. So they're trying to use a very ancient or a very outdated way to cure certain things when it actually comes through trial and error. So it's amazing that you literally you practice everything and then after multiple iterations you say, bro, this is what works and let's try this with you.
That is my approach entirely.
Yeah.
Where it's all tried and tested.
Yeah.
Because I think there's no better reflection. And also, I think what helped me a lot was because I started from a place of so much pain. From a place of I didn't think anything was possible.
Like how much pain? Like debilitating pain, unmanageable pain.
Yeah. To a point where like that, my back pain was I would need to cease doing everything, sit fetal position for a little while till it eased up for a bit. And when it would get really bad. But then after a while, I learned how to navigate it. I'd feel its onset. So I'd back up, do my thoda naam ka vaste physio I'd do for a little while just to chalao. And then in time again, it would act up. And my shoulder pain was so bad that, again, the mistake we make when we have pain is that I just completely didn't use the arm. I would underuse the arm, but because of which it started to atrophy. So then I had no muscle. So then it was just like sitting on itself. So it was considerably worse than it even needed to be. Right? So the pain was a lot. And it was just the norm. Like I would just pop combi flams. I had one strip in each bag. So like it was just like people be like, bro, what are you doing? I'm just like, chill, yaar. You know, it was just normal for me. And now it's almost like just not there. I just know how to navigate it better. If I feel, it's about to act up. There's still certain movements because with a lot of injuries, unless you've done surgery, you have to navigate around it. There's a chance that you could do something that can refire it a little bit and stuff. Our body is the roadmap. You know what I mean? So there is a predisposition for me to refire it and whatever, but I just know how to navigate it, which is again what I was saying with like once you learn your body, you learn all its predispositions, you learn all this and just you gain mastery of Vinamra. You know what I mean? I can just help you learn how to do you.
Right now, do you feel every single muscle fiber in your body? Do you have complete bodily awareness?
I mean, I'm very much a student and will always be, but I have a fair bit of body awareness from where I started. Yeah.
What's the strangest muscle right now that you feel aware of? I know ये question अजीब सा लग रहा है सुनने में, क्योंकि क्या होता है जैसे हम फर्स्ट टाइम ग्लूट एक्टिवेट करते हैं हमें लगता है कि भैंसो ग्लूट भी है हमारे पास एक राइट एंड देन वी एक्टिवेट द स्कैपुला वी स्टार्ट फीलिंग इट लाइक दैट व्हेन आई वाज इन विपासना फॉर 10 days I fucking felt every single muscle fiber with the pain and whatnot because the sensations had come on. I'd become silent. So because you're a practitioner of this, you feel far more esoteric small muscle groups that most people don't even think about, right?
Perhaps.
Yeah. So because it's an awareness thing. Like someone will अभी कोई बैठ के देख रहा है तो वो खाली अपने आंखों के पीछे बैठा हुआ है. They'll probably feel this part, they'll feel the neck, they'll feel all the parts that are paining. At least right now I feel a mix. I feel the parts that are like full of pain. Those are the parts that are prominent in my sensation, my awareness. Everything else just sort of disappeared. Like
Right, correct.
Yeah.
That's what tends to happen with like most people.
Yeah.
But I think I actively sit with the body and try to connect with as many parts of it actually as I can. I know that sounds really random. But,
No.
But even like, for example, when people are working out in the, like, so what's the strangest one? I believe that there's like a tendon in my knee,
Hmm.
right? That I've recently been able to zone in its click and realize that if I move my knee, my body in a particular angle only,
Hmm.
will it click? It's completely pain free. But I've just become aware of it.
Hmm.
But I just think that every muscle, if you are working out, anyone when they're in a gym, like a lot of people, they tap the muscle.
Hmm.
The trainer will tap that muscle so that they can connect to that muscle, so that
Hmm.
they can fire it. A common misconception is that, like, bodybuilders are like beefcakes and they have no. But what I've grown to realize is that at least the elite level ones, the really, really good ones, are super connected to their body, because the only way you can develop each and every muscle aesthetically is if you can connect to it and with it activated work it in order to grow it and make it look beautiful, right? So I've only recently, I was like, wow, so these guys actually, they can connect with every single muscle too. Otherwise you can't. Otherwise you're just taking whatever's kind of handed to you. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember my first ever podcast was with this golden age bodybuilder, जो मतलब मेरी age का ही था, but he wanted to bring back this classical posing
Type
and
of-
whatnot,
right.
right? So him and I talked about, this is 6 years ago, but he was talking about कि in my community, his community of people, they just focus on the reps. They don't think about the mind muscle connection. He's like, I'll close my eyes, I'll think about this exact small spot of the muscle
That is it.
with a red dot, and I'll figure out ye
That's
muscle
it,
hai. Yeah, and he's like, that makes a big difference.
That is everything. That is everything. If whether you're building a body, whether you're even from a baseline working out standpoint, right? As you know, that the way that I like to teach people is this way. I'm not get these reps done. It's not like do this side raise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like lift this with this muscle,
Yeah.
move it with this muscle, and that's something that I believe that I can move this way, and I think that people can learn to move, especially if they're doing it when they're older and stuff. When they know what muscle is there, they create that neuro pathway to all of that. They have control over the body. When you gain that, you can be infinitely stronger than if you're just trying to move a certain weight,
Right.
right? Because you just got more soldiers in your army. Like if you're talking muscle for muscle, I'm probably not that strong, but I just have more soldiers in my army because I can connect with more of it. So when it comes together, I'm able to exert more force.
Yeah, I noticed how when I was doing the pull up, and you taught me that to actually do the pull up, I have to use the scap and the mid back, and then use my core. And so the pull up was stronger, and I would not have to focus so much on the trap.
Correct.
Because typically हम ऐसे जाते हैं, खींचते हैं,
Correct.
अटक जाते हैं, फिर ट्रैप एक्टिवेट होता है,
Correct.
पैर ऐसे डैंगल कर रहे होते हैं,
Right.
पेट एकदम लूज होता है और वो pull up
Exactly.
कर लेते हैं. The whole idea of powering through it is something I had to unlearn when I came to
that's-
you.
In fact, that's a lot of, I spend a lot of my time trying to make people unlearn that thing. That just get it done, this many reps, this many whatever, be in a puddle of your blood and sweat, and like that's not my approach at all. I'm just like, do it well, do it properly. Even people's relationship with food of like burn off these calories, I find that really strange. Like we should use our food. We're lucky to have it. We should use our food to help us get stronger. That's kind of what I think. And even the mastery of the body, the mastery, like, understanding food, understanding what you're putting into the body. I just like to be able to, I just think that more people should want to learn this stuff. Even like when you came and you're like, you're just taking the predispositions of the body. When you understand it and you make the correct things activate and you fire the correct things, then you start to move well, which you are already moving so much better.
Yeah.
I can see it every time when people, and like that makes me happy.
Yeah, there's an aha moment कि मेरी body ये कर सकती है, which is something that, it's like you suddenly wake up like you're in the Matrix and you realize कि ये क्या है, मैं तो
Yeah.
मतलब this is all a
I was asleep.
programming. Yeah, I was asleep. Yeah, in fact, the reason I wanted to do body first movement and like just focus on movement कि ये शरीर है क्या, like ये एक अजीब सी चीज है. It's such an elemental question.
Yes.
ये शरीर क्या चीज है, right? मतलब I can go philosophical, ये शरीर
Right.
ये skin से बना है ये, but fundamentally I wanted to go down the parts. I remember when my TMJ postural issues were an all-time high, and I wanted to explain it exactly to the orthopedic and the physio what I ended up doing is I ended up making a journal of the body. And it really helped the physio to pinpoint my specific symptoms, where he would sit with me for an hour only because I was like, look, I'm a dedicated patient. I've got all these flaring up problems because of this
Right.
TMJ treatment. Now you're going to help me solve it.
Right.
Now, what mostly people do is they're like, mere idhar dard ho raha hai.
Right.
But they don't tell you like a series of pains that they have. They tell you the most prominent pain.
Correct.
So I made a diagram of the body the best way I could. And I said, this particular part pains in this. And I wrote small descriptions.
Correct.
When I presented it to the physio, he was so excited. He was
Right.
like this. And we were able to, basically
Yeah, it's
go.
amazing.
Yeah, we were able to figure out a lot of things.
I think a lot of people that have, I can't vouch for everyone, but a lot of people that like learn stuff and know stuff and are approaching from a place of wanting to teach. So there's definitely a section of people that want to be able to teach people. Like when you're like, when someone's like, I've got a pain here, if they can describe the pain, the nature of the pain, I can do so much more for them. Like, is it muscular? Does
Yeah.
it feel like a nerve? Is it traveling?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
actually brings me joy to be able to be like, you know what that pain is. You
Yeah.
know how to make it go away,
Yeah.
or to make it not happen, or whatever. But like a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? It's so dependent on
Yeah.
how your ability to describe it and tell the difference, which is
That's why education plays a big role, being able to speak about this as
Correct.
opposed to say in basic polarizing, मुझे दर्द हो रहा है.
हाँ,
अबे तो फिर क्या करें भाई, कहाँ दर्द हो रहा है बताओ तो हम fix कर पाएंगे उसको. Yeah, but like, talk to me more about being pain free. It's a new term that's come around in the last 3-4 years as fitness movements have emerged. This is not something people cared about so much in the past, because there is a whole school of yaar apne pain ko manage karo, like manage your pain, like okay, now you're just the way people manage chronic illnesses and don't go to alternative cures where they can possibly reverse the illness. They're like, okay, now I have this thing, it's all, and sometimes you can't do anything, but most things you can do something. But तो chronic illness वाली same चीज को वो muscular pain पे भी लेके आते हैं, या फिर वो postural pain पे लेके आते हैं कि मेरी गर्दन टेढ़ी है, चल भाई इसको ऐसे ही बैठ के करते हैं ताकि और दर्द ना होए.
Yeah, but I'm saying a lot of this pain stuff, when it comes to helping, like movement being what helps it, which is quite often the case, actually. If it's like muscular and if it's whatever, if it's not neuro, right? The thing is that there's two things feeding each other, right? There's the person who wants the magic pill, and there's someone selling you that magic pill. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, I don't want to have to do this for half an hour every day. I don't want to have to do this 2-3 times a day, which actually you're probably going to have to do, at least initially, and when you're strength training and whatever. Well, a lot of people don't want that. They want the magic pill. And then there's another whole industry trying to sell you those pills. So, which is where that whole pain management comes from. But I think it's the more information is coming about, the more the internet is there, the proof is in the pudding, right?
Right.
So then you're hearing that someone actually fixed it by like getting up and moving and doing something about it. And so I feel like, which is why it's becoming more of a thing where people are coming to terms with the fact that if they do the work, then they can maybe be able to live pain-free.
And I think that's very important because many people whose parents live in pain, their lifestyles and habits signal towards early mortality. And sadly, many of us, despite this new awakening around being pain-free and using alternative modes of fitness and eating clean, despite all of this, there are many of us who've largely inherited the same style of pill popping, the same style of कि इस पे massage करा लो, pain killer खा लो, इस पे दवाई लगवा लो, where you're just using balm after balm and treatment after treatment, but not dealing with the issue at hand,
Right.
Yeah.
But that's very commonly the thing. And in fact, I think sort of our parents' generation, in a sense, at least I can speak for my mom's case and some of my family friends, was the most tricky one, because they were the first one that had access to all these packaged foods.
Of course.
Without the knowledge of how bad it is for them. Like, at least we've got the knowledge of how bad it is for us.
Yeah.
Or if you look at the one generation before them, even their junk food and all was still going to a local bakery, which is not that bad. It's not like got like 2 years shelf life.
Yeah.
So I think the troublesome part with that generation that we're talking about, like our parents' generation, is that they found out about it late. They found out about it after the problems had set in.
You're so right, because all the big food, all the big pharma really boomed in India at a
That-
time when they were
exactly.
first coming into money, when they could afford it.
Exactly.
Right?
And
So-
it was looked at as a big deal to have this cheese that's like, you know what I mean, in a
Yeah,
packet
yeah,
in
yeah,
some
yeah.
whatever that can stay in your fridge forever. And, you know, these noodles that can,
Yeah,
you know, be cooked in 2 minutes.
yeah.
So I think that was the most troublesome generation because they, oh, we can just have this pill and they didn't understand the dependence on the meds and whatever. Even if we look at it as the age bracket of it's very impressive that this 70-year-old is living on his/her own, you know, wow, it's actually not that big a deal to be living like to be managing without help at 60 something or 70 something. It's in
Yeah, yeah.
if it's actually quite but the urban person here, we have the concept of success comes from how little you move. Success is defined by how little you move, right? How
Yeah.
much help you have,
Yeah.
and which is causing them to like just move less and less, and they already are set up with this pill popping, packaged food eating sort of culture. Where if I try telling my mother, she's like, I've got by just fine, but I'm like, just about, you know, survived. I don't know if thrived, because
Yeah.
she's like, her health is terrible and she's living in continuous pain, but still too set in her ways. I try though.
Yeah, I think that's all you can do. You can try, and I think if even 10 people watching this, listening to this, will say, I'm sick of having this dead ass. I'm sick of lugging this weight around. I'm sick of feeling like shit in my body, because it's people don't realize how good you can feel
They really don't.
when the first few latent hibernating endorphins wake up and suddenly realize we're here to be released.
Yeah.
I'm getting the scientific language wrong, whatever.
But it's fine.
पर
I
जब
get the
वो एंडोर्फिन्स आते हैं और उस वक्त इंसान को इनविंसिबल फील होता है,
Right.
और आप करेक्ट तरीके से उसको करो एंड यू कैन गेट इट अगेन एंड अगेन एंड अगेन, it's such an addictive feeling.
It's
But you
really-
have to get back in momentum, especially if you've been away from it for so long. And you have to
Exactly.
keep doing it as often as possible, because even I've spent weeks away from not doing this because I travel so much, and
Exactly.
I come back worse.
Right.
I always come back worse and say, bro, like, I fucked this
Yeah.
up, I fucked this up, my mental health is in ruin, I overworked, and my bed hara pure time pe, I have a belly. And then it's like, okay, now we have to start all over again.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be like that. It's just that you're right. We're in a country where the default is everyone's sitting around. Everyone's getting fat.
Yeah. It's just not woven into the fabric
Yeah.
here. It's like as I said, it's slowly changing.
Yeah.
But I don't think the average person knows what it feels like to be strong or close to their strongest version of self. I don't think that they've genuinely tried.
Yeah.
I don't think enough people have tried. The statistics are there to show that, like,
Yeah, I still think there's on Instagram at least I feel hopeful when I see like younger people going to the gym, क्योंकि ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है. A lot of people go to the gym and at least work out and get those endorphins in. But when it comes to the average person, I don't think so.
I don't think so. It's definitely not. And also, I think that maybe your algorithm has shifted a little bit
Yeah, of course.
because you're exercising yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know about how many people. Yeah, it's changing for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think at as much of a pace as it should be. And also another misconception is that it's too late to start, which I was in the boat of. So I'm like honestly, irrespective of whoever's listening to this, however old you are, like you can start now. You're 60, you can start now. You're 40, you can start now, and you will see results.
I'm going to give you two cases, because I really want this to drive home to my parents also, and like everyone else.
Right.
Okay, let's just say they're in their 50s.
Yep.
Okay, they used to work out back in the day.
Yep.
Now, their small momentum is हमने आज walk कर ली जाके.
Right.
Or some older men report, I don't feel as strong anymore.
Right.
कि अब अगर मैं जाऊंगा जिम में मुझे इंजरी हो जाएगी.
Right.
कि मैं अब मेरे में इतना टेस्टोस्टेरोन नहीं है.
Right.
How do you counteract those things?
So you can't counteract biology, right? But you can definitely feel stronger than you are feeling. You can gain muscle till whatever age. Sure, the pace at which you can is compromised as you grow older. We know that. We know of sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss. So you've actually lost a bunch of muscle. So you will feel weaker than you once did. And how much you can put on after a certain age might be compromised. but with proper training and proper nutrition. Understanding also that protein synthesis is not as good when we're older.
Yeah.
So just doing it in a knowledgeable way. I for sure say that anybody working out, especially starting after your 20s, you have to do it fully guided and know what you're doing because your body has different predispositions. The injury risk is higher.
Yeah.
So you have to do it mindfully and progress mindfully. But yeah, just walk into your local gym and just reach out to a personal trainer if you know someone who has a personal trainer, or tell your son
Yeah.
to find you one in your city and he'll find you one. It's not that hard to find anymore. But yeah, and I will also say that just a massive like diet, people don't understand that. They're so against like protein as a concept. It's and like we are under protein.
Yeah.
I think I've read that the number is that 80% of our population or so is protein deficient, which means
that's my muscle-based integration from
which means below the amount required for survival,
yeah.
for optimal survival, not to gain muscle.
Yeah.
That is absurd. So we I think we can definitely say that 80% of our population has not tasted what it's like to feel as strong as they can possibly feel.
Yeah,
And they've not even tried it.
यार आप रोटी और चावल खा के अपने रिकवरी कैसे करोगे? आप जा तो रहे हो और आप रोटी और चावल खा रहे हो, आप कार्ब्स हीट से जा रहे हो. Infinite energy for what?
Not to villainize a macronutrient. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, it shouldn't be the primary focus of all that you're eating.
Yeah.
Which is where we're flawed. And at a certain point, we have to realize that we are not moving like the people once moved. Our output is not the same. Right? And we also, even because I struggled with this ki like I've survived with for so long. I couldn't have been wrong. You don't want to be wrong. You have to be like, especially as someone who did it at 35, ki I needed to say that I didn't know, yaar. Like, I was wrong.
Better, huh?
I was wrong. And now I want to not be wrong. And I want to do this rather than being like, nahi, itna saalo se main ye kiya and there was nothing wrong with me. And you're trying, your ego kind of tries to want to hold on to that thing, but be like, man, maybe I didn't know. It's okay. You know, we weren't challenging in weightlifting, in javelin throwing, in boxing. We are doing that now. Why? Why are Indians suddenly a threat? Our genetics didn't miraculously just change. Just the knowledge of nutrition has come in and training has come in. And suddenly we're a formidable force in all of these very physical disciplines.
Yeah.
Earlier we were only in the cerebral ones.
So true. Chess, we
were only in the cerebral ones. Like, would there be one odd...
Chess and cricket, bro, that's it.
Yeah, there'd be one odd Pitusha-ish story. But you know what I mean? But otherwise, chess and cricket.
Yeah, you're so right. And in fact, when I was in Israel, I was very surprised to notice they could be in their 40s or 30s or whatever. Everyone was running like mad and working out like mad on the beach. Everyone.
It's woven into their culture there.
It's because they do mandatory conscription. When everyone's a soldier, like it's inbuilt into their psyche कि हमें ये करना है.
Correct.
You're right.
They are a whole different level.
Yeah.
But
हमारे यहाँ नहीं, because you're right. Earlier you said कि तू prosperous हो रहा है तो तू मोटा हो रहा है, और मैंने कहा भाई क्या बात कर रहा है? You were right.
It's like we have the concept of the fat king.
Yeah. We're like, oh, पेट बड़ा हो रहा है, पैसा आ रहा है, आप गंजे हो रहे हो, पैसा आ रहा है. Like these are stupid truisms that we invent to feel good about ourselves. And then, you take fucking gas medicine and you take sinus medicine, you take all kinds of medicines and you ruin your health. Like, beta koi baat nahi. And you're still respected. In India, you can be horribly unhealthy and respected if you're like a materialistic winner.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
when I was at my unhealthy most, I had that skinny fat wala cheeks.
Yeah.
So my aunties would be like, now when I gotten whatever, ripped.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word. My aunties would be like, Magar, on your face you have to put on a little bit, beta. Because like now little do they know that was a subject of alcohol and like terrible junk food.
Yeah.
But like to them that was, you know what I mean? Because in their head, there's that association with that being healthy. There's some fat on his cheeks.
Yeah. It's, it's also the way we consider health. क्योंकि हम अगर उस वाली जगह से आते हैं, our country was very famine struck. We were just coming off the independence.
Exactly.
So people who could be fat could afford food.
Exactly.
Right. And so now I think now that is changing and we're going to see far more vanity metrics, which is not a bad thing at all.
Which is a great thing.
Yeah. So, bro, with this, I conclude our podcast. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank
I
you so
was
much
able
for
to
having
learn
me,
many
brother.
more things. I would love to have you on again, and hopefully do some live training to show people what can happen. Where can people find your work or see what you actually do? Instagram?
Yeah, sure. I just
Yeah.
got my Instagram.
Just the 10K. Congratulations.
Arey yaar.
The context के लिए ना मैंने when I first met him, I was like, yo bro, you're a 3K. And if you do मेरी आदत है ना, मैं मतलब वो बोल ही देता हूँ सोशल मीडिया के बारे में. So he said I was living rent free in his head because when he hit 10K, he was like, oh, this guy is
That's
after my life for social media. नहीं, मुझे लगता है ये इंसान को, I mean, like yours a very artistic Instagram, so people will have a अच्छा glimpse of what you do. Like what is the extreme end of what calisthenics can do for you, where you will do things that only you assume acrobatics can do.
Yeah, but anyone can do that with
Yeah.
just the right amount of time put in.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that.
Cool, awesome. People can follow you on Rohan_Maz.
It's Rohan Maz, just one word.
Rohan Maz on Instagram. And thank you for your time, bro.
Pleasure, brother.
Keep moving, and of course, I'll see you tomorrow.
Done.
Solid.
Class.
Ajay, do you have any message for people in case something like that, something you want to say?
No, I think we
Kuch
covered it.
billboard for society type ka message?
No, I think we covered it in that whatever your age is, you just start moving, man.
Solid. Done. Just start moving, guys.